I'm Rachel Belle, and this is Your Last Meal, the show where celebrities share stories about the foods they love most, and we dig into the history, culture, and science of those meals with experts from around the world. Today on the program, Emmy-nominated actor Jesse Tyler Ferguson. Jesse is best known for his 11-year run playing Mitchell Pritchett on Modern Family, but he's also a Tony Award-winning Broadway performer. Jesse grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and he has had a lifelong love affair with, you guessed it, green chili. So I call the now retired director of the Chile Pepper Institute in Las Cruces, New Mexico, a man who started his career in another branch of horticulture.
I actually did my PhD on cabbage for sauerkraut. And unfortunately, sauerkraut was a dying industry. But
wait a minute, you got a PhD in cabbage sauerkraut?
Yeah, breeding or looking at varieties that would be the best sauerkraut in Wisconsin. So
all that coming up later in the show. But first, my conversation with Jesse Tyler Ferguson. Okay, I just want to start with a bonding question/statement. I was very excited when I read that you also don't like the word foodie.
Yeah.
We get foodied a lot.
I know. It's just such a gross word. It's like blogger, you know?
I think it's worse because I don't know what else you would call somebody who blogs, but there are so many other things you could call somebody who loves food or works somewhere in food food media.
I sort of feel like all of this like new language around like content creators and even like podcasters like you and I now, I kind of find all of that, those words to be a little bit, I don't know, maybe I'm just a traditionalist that way.
What would you like to be called if someone was going to refer to your love of food?
A food connoisseur.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's what a foodie is, though. It's just a simpler, consolidated way of saying one who loves food, which I do.
Yeah. Well, you're also a cookbook author, so you get to have that official title that you could throw out there as well.
That is true. Yes. But I'm certainly not a professional.
I want to talk about your cookbook, though, because I actually just finished writing one. And so I love talking to people about this. First of all, talk about what the concept is. What kind of recipes are they going to see?
It's actually a book I co-authored with my very good friend, Julie. It pulls a lot from our cultures growing up. I'm from New Mexico. She's from Alabama. So it's a lot of those like really hearty foods that we grew up eating, a lot of fried chicken, a lot of green chile enchiladas. There's some recipes that are actually a hybrid of both cultures. For example, chicken dumplings with, green chili. And it's called Food Between Friends because it's about cooking with people that you love, sharing that experience with people that you care about. So that's sort of the spirit of the book. It was really fun to do, but also, I'd love to hear your experience about it. I remember I talked to Nancy Silverton when I started writing the cookbook. I was in her restaurant. She happened to be there. And so we were talking about things and she's like, what are you up to? And I said, I'm starting to write a cookbook. And she told me, she's like, oh, isn't it the worst? And I'm like, you're Nancy Silverton. Like you are an amazing chef. And she goes, it's such a lonely experience. It takes all the joy out of like creating things because you have to write everything down and like test it 9 times. It's like, well, yeah, I guess that is true. It is kind of like, it takes the spontaneity out of making a meal when you have to sort of like figure out the way to explain the recipe to the reader. And, you have to really like nail down the exact measurements. I was comforted by the fact that she sort of dreaded the cookbook experience because I have some of her cookbooks and I find them very helpful. So, but I had a great time writing mine.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I've heard that a lot from writers in general. The worst part of writing my book was writing my book. And I actually loved it. I think that it has to do with the way your brain works and your personality. I didn't have a single complaint. I loved the precision of put 1 tablespoon, write it down. It's not enough. Add enough. Yeah. I thought that was really fun. I usually work with people, so like being alone in my kitchen didn't bother me. I've been a writer since I was a little kid. When I was 4 or 5 years old, that's what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to be a children's book author and illustrator. I was a creative writing minor in college. I wanted to write a book since I was a little kid. So maybe if you're someone who works in a kitchen and you're used to standing up all day and having people around you and this fast-paced job, that's very different than sitting down at the computer and writing. I actually thought it was really fun. The creativity of coming up with different recipes and just experimenting. I don't know. I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly was happy that it was there for me. We finished writing the book at the beginning of the pandemic as well. We were still recipe testing at that point. So you might remember, like, a lot of the grocery store shelves were very barren at that time. So it was kind of difficult getting ingredients to work with. And sometimes we actually ended up having to pivot and change some of our recipes because we couldn't find the things that we wanted to use. The chicken dumplings recipe, I think, there's like sweet potato in there because we couldn't find any russet potatoes. We kind of went the untraditional route with some of our ingredients because that's what the times called for. But it sort of, it challenged us to be a little bit more innovative.
Yeah, well, it almost gets to be like a time capsule. I don't know if you mentioned in the book that you had to pivot, but for yourself, when you look, you'll always remember that.
Yeah.
On that note, the head notes are so good in your book because I'm one of those people that I bring a cookbook into bed and I read the whole damn thing. And they're so funny. Both you and Julie are very quippy, fun writers. Like, I enjoyed reading all of the little notes.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun to do. And sometimes, but I don't know, tell me if you felt this way. These head notes are meant to, sort of explain the recipe and explain the meaning of the recipe and, maybe give some backstory. And there were times that I felt like, oh my gosh, this is just green beans. It's all it is. And I don't know what to say about it. Here's some green beans that I like. And, you'd have to like really be creative to figure out, how am I going to talk about?
Yeah, I wonder if some people do just write, I like them. And that's it. It's just whatever.
I think in Chrissy Teigen's book, there is literally one recipe that she's like, it's just what it is. Like, it's biscuits and gravy.
I think you're right because that is the first person I thought of when you said that.
Yeah.
Jesse hosts a podcast called Dinners on Me. Each episode, he takes a celebrity out to a restaurant for a meal, and we get to listen in on their conversation. Folks like Cynthia Nixon, Tracy Ellis Ross, Jonathan Van Ness, Orville Peck, and Weird Al. The one episode that I was very intrigued about the restaurant, because it's a place I've never been, I've wanted to go for a long time, is the Weird Al episode. Can you talk about where you went to lunch and a little bit about that restaurant?
You've never been to Cafe Gratitude?
I haven't. I live in Seattle.
Okay. Well, that makes sense then.
Yeah. And when I visit LA, I'm like, I have so little opportunities to eat. That's not where I want to go.
I know. It's casual vegan dieting, and Al is vegan or mostly vegetarian and vegan. And Cafe Gratitude's sort of like this LA staple. When it opened up, I think almost 20 years ago, it was quite the scene because there was very few restaurants that were catering to the vegan community. And there were lines down the block. There's tale that Leonardo DiCaprio was like on the line waiting for his, vegan burger because no one was treated specially. You had to wait in line, and that's what it was. And now they've opened up a few more locations, and there's also more options in LA now for vegan and vegetarian dining. So it's the hype of it sort of calmed down a bit. And they have this really interesting way of ordering where they used to give you a prompt, which was like the question of the day, which I don't think they do anymore. And I'm kind of glad because sometimes I would just want to go in and have my cup of coffee. I was like, I don't want to fall in conversation. I don't need a prompt to talk about my happiness. But that's sort of like where they lead from. If you want to order the salad is called I am beautiful, or I am splendid, or I am enough, or I am worthy. So you have to order it that way. I would like the I am worthy. And then when they bring you your meal, you're like, you are worthy. And they put your meal in front of you. It's just a kind of ridiculous,
like
hilarious. Yes. And I kind of love it. I kind of love that they've held on to that device. It feels a little gimmicky, I guess. But I just kind of love that they didn't back down from it. So anyway, me and Al ate there together, and he had a good laugh over the way we were ordering because they were actually out of something he wanted. They were out of like the splendid. And so I was like, no splendid for you, Al.
Yeah, you are not splendid today. You are going to be cleansed or pure or dazzling. I'm looking at the menu right now.
Those are all exactly right, though. Valued, yes.
How you doing? I think I already know what I want. I always get the same thing here. I'm going to get the I am humble, which is an Indian curry bowl for people who are listening want to know what I just ordered.
And I would love to get I am dazzling.
And you are.
Thank you, with avocado. And I am magnificent.
Just maybe.
Thank you.
Oh, it's saying we're out of stock of our magnificent.
What?
No.
Yeah, we're all.
Al, you're not magnificent.
Oh no. Oh gosh.
There was a lot of magnificent people who came in today and took all the.
Oh, let's do I am Grace.
Okay.
Why not?
I might need a coffee too. I am courageous.
In case you're wondering, I am dazzling. That is a Caesar salad with shiitake bacon, capers, croutons, and Brazil nut parmesan. And that smoothie that Al wanted that they were out of, I am magnificent, is a black sesame date shake. I sometimes feel embarrassed in the same way ordering at a sushi restaurant. Some of the rolls, I'm like, I don't want to say I want the bad boy roll. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
I'll have the wine mom roll.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I know, it's ridiculous. I'll have the rock and roll.
Yeah.
The bad mama. Hilarious.
Time for a break. But when we come back, why are New Mexicans so obsessed with green chili? I want to talk more about New Mexican food and what you grew up eating, because it's different than Mexican food. How would you define the style of New Mexican food, and what were the dishes that you loved and still love from home?
New Mexican food has a lot of cheddar cheese. It's a little more sloppy looking. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's sort of, there's a lot more sauces. One of my favorite dishes is the green chili chicken enchilada, and it's just usually smothered in red and green chili. And the green chili, if it's done properly, is not actually super green. It's hatch green chili in kind of like a tomatillo sauce.
Yeah.
And there's also a really wonderful way of ordering in New Mexico called Christmas style, where you can get red and green chili on the same plate, which I love. The cheese that they use is, that bright yellow cheddar cheese. I don't know, it's a little bit more Americanized, I guess. As I'm explaining it, it sort of feels like, lots of sauces and American cheese, and like, or cheddar cheese rather. And then, sopapillas are really, sort of served like table bread in New Mexico. And people who don't know what a sopapilla is, it's like a fried bread that puffs up like a pillow, and you can tear off a corner and fill it with things, or just eat it by itself. And it's very popular to eat as a dessert. You just sort of drizzle some honey inside, put some powdered sugar on top, and really good.
That's the only way I've had it, but I saw a recipe in your book, sopapilla stuffed with red chili chicken. That sounds very good.
Yeah, I like the savory ones. And that's the thing. When I was working at this restaurant, Sadie's, I would stuff the green chili chicken enchilada into the sopapilla and eat it that way. It was really good.
That.
Yeah.
You're turduckening the food.
Yes, exactly.
So do you still have memories of the smell of when it's hatch chili season? Because I know a lot of people I know up here are like, I missed that roasting season.
Absolutely. I mean, I haven't been around for roasting season in quite some time, but I have friends who still live there who will pick me up a few bags of green chili and freeze it and send it to me. And I'm really grateful for them, because I get to have that sort of sitting in my freezer ready to go at any time. But yeah, I went to grade school and high school there, and my high school was in the Valley, which was an area where they would do a lot of the roasting of the green chilies. So I remember just going from class to class outside, I would smell that in the air. Absolutely.
Yeah. And you also get salsa mailed to you every year, or you order? Yeah.
I do, from Sadie's, that same restaurant that I used to work at. I don't know, there's something about it. It's just, I cannot find a salsa that is good as Sadie's salsa is. It's a thinner salsa. It's not super chunky, and it's got a very vinegary base, but I don't know. There's something about it that just feels like home. And I guess it's because it's what I grew up eating. It's the best salsa for me. And I order probably 12 at a time, 12 jars, and then I give them away sometimes as gifts. I have a few friends from Albuquerque, and they are just so thrilled when I pull out Sadie's salsa. Yes. It's just, it feels like a rare treat. Yeah.
Is it a red salsa, or is it a hatch green chili salsa?
They do have hatch green chili, but I prefer the red. And they have one that's hot and then one that's not as hot. Yeah. And the not as hot is still pretty hot. Yeah, Sadie started in a bowling alley. It was like 4 stools in a bowling alley, and it was run by Sadie and her, I believe, sister Betty Jo, who was my boss when I was there. And then it ended up moving to another location. And there's people that say, oh, it's not the same since it left the bowling alley. But I don't know what it was like at the bowling alley, because I was way too young to eat there. But I love it. And it's always one of my stops when I go home.
The story and the sister's name, it sounds like a country song, like the bowling alley and the 4 stools and Betty Jo.
That's right. Yeah.
let's get to the crux of the show.
Yes.
What would your last meal be?
I kind of already said it. It's green chili chicken enchiladas with sopapillas. And I would add a margarita to that too, and chips and salsa. I know it would be my last meal because after I moved out of Albuquerque, which was a long time ago, I moved away from Albuquerque when I was 17.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I was living in New York and when I was living out here in Los Angeles, I've always craved that food. And when I go back and I taste it for the first time after not having it for a year or two, it brings me so much joy and comfort.
So the version that you would like to have, who would make it?
Well, I mean, part of me wants to make it myself because I have taken a lot of pride in figuring out how to make it properly. And I think that my version is really good. My mom would make green chili chicken enchiladas, but the last step always involved a can of creamed mushroom soup that she would just pour over the top, which was delicious. But I don't do that step. I find that creaminess in other ways. I feel like I've really nailed a good recipe. So the salsa would be Sadie's salsa. For sure. I'm not making my own salsa, but I would make my own green chili chicken enchiladas. And I think I would want someone else to do the sopapillas just because the grease is too splattery and I don't want to leave a messy kitchen.
So if you're eating them with enchiladas, would you then be like tearing them up and dipping them in all of the sauce in the enchilada? Sure. Okay.
For sure. Or like I said, taking a corner and just stuffing the enchilada into it and eating it that way. But I would definitely save some of the sopapilla to put honey on and have as a dessert as well.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about your recipe. What makes yours so good? What are the little tricks that you figured out to be able to skip the Campbell's cream of mushroom soup?
Well, I kind of make a base that's very similar to a chicken pot pie.
That makes sense. Yeah.
The filling itself has a lot of creaminess in it. There's actually some cream. There is some chicken stock. There is obviously green chili. Frozen peas are the best thing to cook with because they defrost so fast. And you don't, I don't know. I kind of prefer them over fresh peas because you can always have them on hand.
Totally.
Then I just spoon it into the corn tortilla. I roll it up and put more sauce on top. I make a green chili sauce. Yeah, it sort of does the job of what the cream of mushroom soup would do.
And then
you never have a dry enchilada. It's never dry.
Do you put shredded cheddar on top? Okay.
I do. I stir it into the mixture and then I also sprinkle it on top.
I want to make this. I want to have it your way.
It's really good. Yeah.
New Mexico calls itself the chili capital of the world.
Here you can get a license plate with chili peppers on it. It says the chili capital of the world. Chili really permeates across all economic classes, all races, all age groups. Whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or an independent, we can all agree on chili peppers here.
That's Paul Bosland, retired director of the Chile Pepper Institute at New Mexico State University. Paul says New Mexican chilies didn't exist until the late 1800s.
We had a professor named Fabian Garcia that was hired. He was our very first horticulturist. He realized there was no commercial chili industry. And so he began to hybridize the ones from Mexico and hybridize them into what we now call the New Mexican pod type, which you would say is the hatch chili, the hatch green chili. And he released it and it became a big hit. People started to grow it. We started to can it. The great story is that we had a cowboy here that fell in love with it. And so when he moved to California, he took some seeds with him and started growing it there. And the farm happened to be in Anaheim, California. People there had never seen this chili that was created here at New Mexico State University. So they call it the Anaheim. So the Anaheim is a variety of the New Mexican pod type. But now you had a chili pepper, the New Mexican pod type, that could make chili rellenos, could be used in salsa. Every use, it could be done. And so now we had one chili that filled that niche.
So before that, at least in the United States, there was no such thing as a mild chili. That was just a little spicy. Is that what you're saying? People would let them ripen until they were red and they were very spicy?
That's what Fabian says in his writings, that he wanted to make a chili that was more uniform and milder to get non-Hispanics to eat it. And the thing is, there's no such thing as a hatch chili. And this is a real misnomer. You know, people call all green New Mexico chili hatch. And the reason for that is in southern New Mexico, we started to grow this new type of chili. In the fall, when we begin to harvest, we take it out to Albuquerque to sell it. And people would go, oh, that's the chili from Hatch. And so it became Hatch chili, even though we prefer it to be called New Mexican because we have cultivars that are of different heat levels and of different uses now. And unfortunately, a company trademarked the name Hatch green chili. And actually, a lot of it comes from Mexico, but they have the name.
When I think about cuisines that are well known for spicy, chili spiked food, I think of India, Thailand, but chili peppers are native to the Americas, specifically Bolivia. First, they spread through South and Central America with the help of birds.
And the interesting thing, birds do not have the heat receptors that we do. So when they eat the very, very hot chili peppers, it's like eating a bell pepper, and they spreaded the seeds. And even today, the wild chili peppers are spread by birds.
But it was the Portuguese who were responsible for bringing chilies to Asia and Africa. In the late 1400s, the Portuguese landed in Brazil, grabbed some chilies and chili seeds, and brought them to Goa, India. And with the help of the spice trade, they quickly spread to other parts of the continent. But Paul says Christopher Columbus was actually the first European to encounter chilies in the West when he first arrived in the Caribbean.
And he made a lot of mistakes. He thought these were Indians here, and they weren't. And he thought the red chili peppers were the black peppers that he was new from India. And so he called it pepper. And they're not closely related at all. The chili peppers belong to a different family than the black pepper. But he made the mistake. The Aztecs had a word called chil, C-H-I-L, chil. It was a phonetic thing, and that meant chili pepper or the capsicum. Chipotle meant smoke.
When the Spanish colonized, they added the E to chill, and the word Chile was born. But back to the New Mexico green chilies. What is your favorite dish with New Mexico green chili?
My favorite dish is chili rellenos because they're kind of a difficult dish to do correctly. They can become very greasy and heavy. So if you make a good chili relleno, I don't think there's anything better. A nice big green chili, and you can stuff it with cheese. And then I like a beer coating because it makes the batter a little more fluffy. The green chili cheeseburger is kind of our invention. You can get green chili cheeseburgers at every McDonald's here. And again, I didn't think that was odd.
Okay, I have this fantasy list in my head of things that I would want if I lived in a big fancy mansion. Number one, a secret room. You know, where you push the bookcase and it opens into like a secret swimming pool or a secret taqueria. I also want a tahini faucet, which is a designated sink where only tahini comes out when you turn the handle. But Jesse already has his dream house luxury item, and he tells us all about it when we come back. I loved this so much. You said you find it incredibly relaxing to create mise en place. Tell me about your meditative mise en place.
I don't know. I think that's honestly my favorite part of cooking is just putting all the ingredients together. If you have the time. If you don't have the time, it's a really annoying thing that you have to do, but it makes cooking so much easier. I don't know. I like the look of all these little bowls of chopped ingredients.
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm watching cooking shows, like that's my favorite part. I would love to actually be that person that would prepare the mise en place. Oh my God, that just looks so relaxing. I collect a lot of those little bowls. So I have them sitting on I have exposed shelves in my kitchen, which, you know, I didn't think I would like, but they're actually not as bad as I thought it would be.
I didn't think so either, and I love it.
I do love them. Yeah, you just can't overcrowd them. You have to just put what you need out there.
Yeah.
But I have, they're all sort of stacked by the stove and I use them all the time and I'm always looking for more. I still love the process of putting everything into its bowl and then just dumping it as you're going along. This comes together so fast.
Totally. Well, that's like if you are cooking like a stir fry or something and it just it gets hot and you have to pour it all in. It is convenient. Yeah. Maybe this is your next project to have your own line of mise en place little bowls. That would be so fun.
What a dream.
Yeah, you could sell them in Walmart.
I love sitting at totally. I love sitting at a bar at the chef's counter because I love watching them do all that and like all the little cubbies of all the pre-chopped things that they've been working all day to like prepare. It's just it's so comforting.
It is
so satisfying.
One thing that's very charming too, and maybe a little bit lazy, is that you have a coffee maker and a fridge just outside your bedroom door.
Yes. when I lived in my last house, we've since moved, but there were two closets. There was a his and her closet, so it was a his and his for us. And Justin and I share a lot of clothes, so one was like our everyday wear, and then the other one was like suits and tuxedos and like fancy shoes and shirts and stuff. And we had a little extra space in that kind of like formal wear closet. And so we were building a cabinet, and I said, well, while we're building this cabinet, we have like a little roll top that would have a little Nespresso machine in there. Like, when you're at a hotel and there's just like, it's all right there.
Yeah.
And so we made that for ourselves, and it was my favorite thing in the whole house. I was like, I love this machine. I would not even if I could get coffee downstairs, if I was downstairs, like, I want to make coffee upstairs. It felt cozy being in my closet making coffee. And so when we moved, our house that we have now, there's a little refrigerator outside of our bedroom. And it's sort of like, just like on this landing. And so I made a little coffee station right there. And so it's right outside my bedroom door. And I don't like it as much as I liked the little roll top Nespresso thing. Like, that's all I really need because it's sort of a little more elaborate, but it's a nice thing that I wanted to have again in the next place I lived in. And I think from now on, I'll always try and find a place for a coffee machine in my bedroom.
Closet.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So do you take it back into bed? Is that part of the joy of it?
Definitely on the weekends. And also when I'm up early with the kids, I'll stop on my way to their bedrooms and make myself a cup of coffee so I don't have to go downstairs. I got to have my coffee while I'm getting them out of bed. And it's just great. And Justin only drinks iced coffee, so the refrigerator is great for him because I put canned iced coffee in there. So we're good to go.
I love it. And that was Jesse Tyler Ferguson's last meal. Thank you so much. It was
thank you.
Lovely meeting you. This was very fun.
Thanks, Rachel. Bye.
Check out Jesse's podcast. It's called Dinners on Me. And next Thursday, you can catch more of my conversation with Jesse on The Leftovers, the new companion show that airs every other Thursday. He'll tell us what he would cook for dinner if Barbra Streisand was coming over. Thanks to Paul Boslin. Last year, he co-authored the official cookbook of the Chile Pepper Institute.
So like under paprika, we have Hungarian goulash, and then under New Mexico type, we have green chili rellenos and green chili cheeseburger. And then we have anchos, we have poblano recipes, cayenne, pepperoncini, Aleppo, jalapeno, Hungarian wax, bearable, and it goes on and on. And so I think we have 92 recipes.
Paul was kind enough to send over a copy of the cookbook so I can gift it to one of you. All you need to do is sign up for my free newsletter, rachelbelle.substack.com, and I will soon be sending out an email with details on how to enter to win the book. Your Last Meal is a product of Cascade PBS, who also produced my new TV show, The Nosh with Rachel Belle. Head over to cascadepbs.org to watch season 1. They're just these little bite-sized 8.5-minute episodes, so you can easily binge them all in one sitting. Isaac Kaplan-Woolner co-produced, mixed, and mastered this episode, and I am the creator, host, and co-producer. Original theme music by Prom Queen. I'm Rachel Belle, and this is Your Last Meal.